When you purchase SBI valve train components, that blue and yellow box represents 40 years of industry knowledge, R&D, quality that exceeds OEM standards, and outstanding customer service, as well as a dedicated team, ready to help no matter your application needs. That's how SBI keeps engines humming.
Hey everyone, I'm Greg Jones for Engine Builder, and welcome to another episode of Industry Insiders. Today I'm joined by Tricia Musi. She's a drag racer, engine builder, and from the infamous Musi family. Tricia, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, we got a number of things to discuss today, but obviously you've been at this, most of your life, if not all your life. I'm sure in one way or another, you've been around the engine shop and around racing, your whole existence. But I'd love to know a little bit about, whether this was something you always had an interest in, or something that, you maybe had something else that you wanted to do, and you got drawn back to, racing and engine building.
Well, I grew up in racing, and I've been at the track ever since I was a baby. So it's always been in the blood. It's always been something that I've always wanted to do. I got stared off, and I went and tried to do like hairdressing and stuff like that. But I said, man, this is not for me. I'm not the one to be on my feet all these hours and just doing people's hair. And I've always got drawn back to racing. And, it's like my roots, and always looked up to my dad, always wanted to be an engine builder like him someday, and then driving race cars was like at 7, I started driving juniors. And before then we drove go-karts and had little scooters and stuff like that we rode around on. And it never left me. It just always stuck with me. Yeah.
Very good. So you said you did juniors at 7, and you've kind of been racing ever since then, right? And
Yep.
And what type of classes have you been racing recently? You've been doing a lot of NMCA drag racing in recent years?
Yeah, I did. Back in 2015, I ran the PDRA Top Sportsman. And then I had a kind of a deal where I ran half the season, and then a sponsor pulled out, so I couldn't finish the season. But at that time, I was at the top of the ranks. I was number 1 in points. I was almost number 1 qualifier, I think 4 out of 5 events. I went to the semis, finals. I was doing really good. And I actually made my fastest pass, which was 390 at 193. From there, we in 2019 or 18, let me start in 18. We went to NMCA for the first year. We got the Popeye car back. And the Popeye car sat in a shop for 14 years or almost 20 years where nobody's touched it, and had the same motor, same everything. Nobody's ever touched it since my dad drove it last. So we took it out with the same motor. Only difference, we put a different transmission in it. And we went out there. We finished 3rd in points with that. So the following year, we went out and got the new 632 dealer from my dad. And my dad hooked us up. We got a good motor program and went out there and won the points championship. So that was just awesome. I mean, that was like living a dream. Something I've always wanted to do was to get back in that car and claim a championship, something that he did 20 years ago,
Right.
And then so now we got the new car, Double Trouble. Everybody's mistaken that we took the green car and traded that in, or changed that into Double Trouble, but we haven't. It's another car. So that car's got a 959. And the whole plan with that car was, take this year pretty much to test it, get it running. And because, everybody has a new car blues. Once you get a new car, you always got to go out there and test and test and test.
Right.
So we've been running this SNRA deal and running in Pro Mod, just trying to get our feet wet and get the car running, making passes. So we actually made some good passes. We're definitely hopeful. We know it's definitely going to be a competitor and for the MPK deal, because that's what we're veering towards. But so we're going to try to either make Houston or one of the other close ones for the end of the year for MPK, and kind of just touch toes into that range. But that's what we're doing so far.
Yeah, very good. Tricia, you mentioned that you got Popeye car out, a car that your dad used to run. You want to talk about some of the differences between that drag car, and then what you're running with Double Trouble?
Okay, yeah. So in Double Trouble, we do have the same transmission. It's a turbo 400. The engine is different. There's a 959 in the Double Trouble, and there's 632 in the other car. There's only 3 kits of nitrous on the Popeye car, and we're going to be having 6. We only have 5 plumbed on the Double Trouble car, but within this week, that's my next project. So you'll see that soon up on Facebook, me plumbing the nitrous for the 6 kit on
Okay.
that deal.
Yeah.
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 Same size tires. Still, it's a steel roof and steel quarter car, just like the Popeye car. So, but it's a Jerry Bickle chassis. The Popeye car is the Willie Rels.
Okay. Yeah, and you mentioned that you got more nitrous on the new car, and obviously nitrous is something that your dad has done well with over the years and sort of pioneered to some degree. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite car between the two? I'm not, again, Double Trouble is still so new. You're maybe still need to get.
Yeah. It's hard to pick favorites when it comes to Popeye. I love Double Trouble, but when it comes to Popeye, I mean, that's just my baby. It's got to be my baby.
Yeah.
So always going to be number 1.
Fair enough. Now, Tricia, obviously I got to ask you about engine building and the engine shop. Obviously your dad's been doing it a really long time. But I'm sure yourself and your sister Lizzie have been in the shop working right alongside him. Do you help him out in the shop doing certain things?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard now because we live in Mississippi. Both of us do. So it's hard to catch time to, go up there and spend time. But when we did, I was pulling motors apart, cleaning parts, and watching them put motors together, watching them dyno motors. And I helped a lot of his customers too. When I was up in North Carolina, I actually worked for Ricky Smith for a long time, and I crew chiefed on his car. He's a tough cookie to work for, but man, he'll teach you some things.
Yeah.
So
do you want to mention maybe a couple of those tips and tricks that he gave you that have always stuck in your head, or maybe something that might even help other engine builders out there?
I mean, always leak your motors down. Never go a pass. If you make a full pass, check your valves. Always check your valves and your springs, because people make that mistake all the time. They don't check or lash the valves, and man, you'll run into some trouble. You run into big trouble. You'll end up breaking the rockers, breaking a spring. Something you could have prevented in the long run just by not doing that simple process of checking your stuff. You got to do that.
Sure.
I've seen so many guys out there that don't do it, and I'm just like, I harp on them, trying to get them to do it. But that's one of the biggest deals you got to watch.
Yeah, certainly. Tricia, again, you've been racing for a really long time. Is there a specific aspect of it that you love the most, or just a specific aspect that always draws you back to the track?
Burnouts. That's my little secret tip, burnouts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love burnouts. Every time I go to a new track, I bet you everybody says the same thing though. You go to a new track, and it's always that first initial pass you make. It's like, it's in your nerves, and then you finally make that burnout. And as soon as you make that burnout, it's like a whole new you again. You just back one with the car.
Yeah.
So definitely burnouts is one of them for me. And then I like to service and maintain my car. That's something that I look forward to. And then as well as that, and my fans always keep me going.
Yeah, certainly.
Always love to entertain them and spend time with fans.
Right. Well, I'll second you on the burnouts. That's it's fun as a spectator too, and being in the car.
Yeah. Yep. I always get yelled at because I do too long of burnouts.
I can't blame you for that either.
Yeah, right.
Tricia, going back to engine building, are there certain things that you want to hone your skills on even more? Is there something that you're interested in learning more, as you continue to, do more work?
Definitely the tuning aspect. I'm definitely tuning, working more with computers and wanting to learn, what are the tips and tricks, which way to go, which way not to go, when to pull timing, when to put timing in. Those are a lot of things that you really got to pay attention to, and you really got to, know what you're doing, because if you do one thing wrong, you could just throw everything off course, or you could blow something up. So, you really got to really got to pay attention. You got to make sure you have the right people under your belt too, that you're not taking, information from people that don't even know what they're doing themselves.
Mhm.
So it's a really tricky mess, but it's something I'm willing to put a lot of effort into. And hopefully one day I'll get to a point where I can do it, to the aspect of running fast.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Now, when it comes to Musi Racing Engines and the shop itself, again, your dad's been at it, a long time. Is there a plan in place for either you or Lizzie to keep the shop going, or do you guys
There's
plan?
really no plan at the time. There's no plan. But I assume, knowing me and knowing my sister, that we're definitely going to do whatever we can to keep it going.
Mhm.
We're never going to want to close the doors to that place,
Yeah,
whether it's even just selling parts. But I'm trying as hard as I can. I know she's doing the same, to grow as much knowledge as we possibly can to maybe be able to pick up where he left off,
certainly.
So that's the ultimate goal for me.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, certainly. It's, I mean, you guys just opened up, you had that big open house earlier in the year, and the
Mhm.
Edelbrock portion of the building, it's a separate shop almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
All brand new
Yeah.
stuff. So that's really cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
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 Tricia, speaking of your dad and your sister, I'm sure you guys are all pretty competitive when all you guys get together. Do you guys race each other quite often? Do you have?
No, we don't. We've got to race each other one time indoor cars ever. And that was in No Problem last year at the end of the year, at the No Prep race. But people forgot to tell me, which I should have known, that it was an instant green. And I didn't realize that. I totally forgot. I was looking for the amber because I'm used to running with the amber lights. Well, the ambers never came and I was dead late. So I looked so dumb out there. I was like, oh my God. I
Yeah,
saw the video. I was like, wow, I was so dead late.
yeah,
Dead late. But we're trying to, with Montgomery Motorsports Park, Capital City Raceway in Alabama,
mhm.
we're trying to plan a race that me and Lizzie are going to match race at. So I got to try to get with Lizzie and my dad and see when they have time. And then we're going to try to plan a match race and do something like that.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be really cool.
That would be cool.
I've always wanted to race her, but race her with the same kind of power and the same kind of, put it up to drivers now. You know what I
Right.
mean? Not just the cars, but driver to driver, and see who can
Yeah,
really knock it out of the park.
yeah. You got to have the
So
level playing field for sure. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Very
So
good. Tricia, again, you've been fortunate to come from a family that's been, steeped in drag racing for so many years, and really embedded in this industry. But I did want to know, being a female in what's been a male-dominated sport, what's that been like for you? Have you faced certain adversity in it, or have
oh
you?
yeah. I mean, there's always going to be that one that thinks, they can't beat you because you're a woman, or you're not better than them because you're a woman. Then you go out there and you end up taking them out. Then they really feel sorry. But I mean, it's something you got to kind of let it roll off your shoulder. You got to have thick skin if you're going to play the sport. That's one big thing. You got to have thick skin. Growing up in the sport, I've seen it all my life. Annette Summer took a lot of beatings, and so I mean, it's just one thing that comes with it. You got to be willing to roll with punches.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned, you're currently doing this you said SNRA drag racing.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking to do NPK
Mm-hmm.
drag racing. You want to talk a little bit about some of those differences moving up to
Yeah,
that
there's a
next class?
bunch. Yeah, the SNRA is a pro mod class. So they're running, I mean, they run NHRA rules. So I'm actually a lot heavier than all the cars there. But I've been doing pretty good. I mean, as far as qualifying and getting down the track and stuff like that, I've been struggling. But, the races that I did qualify, I took the #1 qualifier out that first round. There's a video, I think, on Instagram of that round. But so it's pro mod, strictly NHRA rules. And then you go to NPK, and NPK, you're running with the tree. The whole, the ambers are gone. You only got the instant green. you could do the deal where you can, I don't know if you can still do that anymore. If you can steal a race and all that. I think they changed that rule. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more I think you can get away with in MPK as opposed to the NHRA rules, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, but I mean, they do have their own set strict rules, and they do tech and all that, so
And
it's, it's not too far off of each other.
yeah. So what are some of your goals once you do start competing in that? Obviously you want to win races and stuff, but do you have other goals out on the track?
I want to beat Kai. I want to beat my sister. I'd like to beat Ryan. I'd like to beat Justin Swanstrom. Let's see. Who else? They're pretty much high on the playing field.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what my goal is, to be able to take. Because if I take them names out, then I feel like, okay, I actually did something. You know what I mean? Because those are guys. Those are people that you can't take anything away from them. I mean, they're running good. They're doing good, and so you take somebody out like that, you really feel like you've accomplished something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
mhm.
Well, Tricia, I don't know that I've got too many other questions for you, but please, let me know if there's something else that you'd like to mention that we haven't touched on, or just anything else that you'd like to talk about.
That's really it. I mean, I ain't got too much more going on. I'm just looking forward to the rest of this year, try to make some MPK races and just be seen, be heard, and because I'm really much for the youth coming into the sport.
Yeah.
That's one thing about me. I like to take younger kids under my wing, show them what they should be doing, and teach them little tricks and tips here and there. And so whenever I get a chance to do that at the tracks, I always do that. I got my friend Madison here with me now. She stayed for the week. She's 13, and I'm gonna teach her how to plumb a manifold while we're here.
Very cool.
So
Yeah.
just little things like that.
Yeah.
That's what I can do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much about cars and engines that are just super, super cool, but they can be very intimidating to work on because
Exactly.
you need a lot of knowledge and you need a lot of tools and the know-how.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it certainly helps to have people like you who are willing to show younger people what to do.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
great.
So,
Awesome.
all
Well,
right.
Tricia, I really appreciate your time and thanks for joining us on this episode of Industry Insiders. And
Anytime.
all you folks at home, we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you guys next time.